Hi, this is the third and final presentation in the Kentucky Department of Education's 2014 Cybersecurity Series focused on security of our information. My name is, well, you really don't need to know what my name is. See, that's security. If you have questions about any of the information presented in any of these videos or want to know more, contact your office's representative on the Data Policy Committee or someone in the Division of Enterprise Data in the Office of Kids. You can always also call the CAT service desk and they will attempt to help you or get you in touch with the right folks. Let's talk about breaches. A data breach very simply happens whenever there is an unauthorized release or access of information that's really not suitable for public release. Examples of the types of information that might constitute a breach were discussed at length in the second presentation of this three-part series. Even if there is no proof that information was accessed, it might still be considered a breach because there's no proof it wasn't accessed either. Contact someone in the Division of Enterprise Data to discuss the risks and help determine if it was, in fact, a breach. We're better safe than sorry in this case. A breach can happen anywhere you keep sensitive information, whether it's your computer, the copying machine, your smartphone, email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Drive, it doesn't matter. It can happen anywhere. And there are a bunch of different ways that it can happen in all of those different places. Hackers getting to data via malware, or maybe social engineering someone here at the department, or you at home. Lost, stolen, or misplaced equipment like laptops, mobile phones, portable thumb drives, all those sorts of things. Employee negligence, which I know hardly ever happens, such as leaving PII or a password list in a publicly accessible location, sometimes near the copying machine, sometimes on a desk. And we have folks coming in and out of the building all day long, so you really need to be careful about that. Sometimes our technical staff may misconfigure a security service or a device, something like that. Again, hardly ever happens, but I need to mention it. Policy and or process failure is another example. Sometimes not having the right password policy for folks to follow, or maybe no procedure for setting up an antivirus software on workstations. Not surprisingly, breaches increase as we become more connected, we use more online services, we share more information online, and the pace of new technology outstrips our ability to stay trained on it. 2013 was the worst year for breaches on record, as you can see from this chart. But by mid-2014, we were already well on our way to beating it. We were over half of what we had done for 2013. This chart doesn't even include the massive breach at Home Depot or the more recent Chase Bank breach, which, when combined, will add over 200 million records to the total for 2014. So we're going to talk a little bit about sensitive data now, and you might want to refer back to the first presentation in this series for more detail about personally identifiable information. But just as a refresher, sensitive and confidential information are usually the key information we would use to identify someone or something, like Social Security number, credit card numbers, or even network information. While some definitions of sensitive data depend on what work you do, some stuff is always considered sensitive. In addition to PII, like your Social Security number, it could be your personal health information, which is called PHI. That would be record of your illnesses. It might also be employee information, such as discipline records or tax information. It could even be information about our computer network, such as IP addresses that every laptop computer has, or server names that might help hackers find a way to break into the network and get to the PII. For more information about sensitive data and PII, please see the other videos in this series. So what can people do with this information? Why would anyone want it? That's a great question. Let's explore that a little bit in our next slide. So, leaked information can be used by criminals to do lots of different things. They can buy stuff in your name or your child's name. They can get loans or establish lines of credit, or even get false identification documents to obtain health care and other benefits. Data thieves are often very interested in using children's social security numbers and their PII. Why is this? Well, children are particularly vulnerable since no one thinks to monitor their credit histories until they are old enough to apply for credit for the first time. And that's usually not until they're college age. By then it's way too late. There may never be a national data breach law, but since 2001, nearly every state has followed California's lead and passed their own data breach law. In 2014, Kentucky passed House Bills 5 and 232 into law, and that gives us a data breach law. So let's review just a little bit. KRS 61.932 sort of includes everything that was in House Bill 5. It addresses the safety and security of personal information held by public agencies and requires public agencies and non-affiliated third parties, like any sort of vendor or contractor that may have a contract with the state, to maintain and update security procedures and practices. This includes taking any appropriate corrective action to safeguard against security breaches. KRS 61.933, which had associated House Bill 232, requires consumer notification when a data breach reveals PII. The language also requires cloud computing service providers contracting with educational institutions to maintain security of student data and allows the Kentucky Board of Education to promulgate regulations as needed. From a national perspective, you have FERPA, the Family Education Rights Privacy Act. It protects the confidentiality of education records by requiring a record to be made of each data breach. It does not, however, contain specific breach notification requirements or penalties, really. Now, how can I prevent a breach? One of the best ways that any of us can prevent data breaches is to make sure we don't have any sensitive or confidential information in the first place. And you've seen some of this advice in our previous presentations. Try to keep any sensitive information in the system where it belongs. Do not download it to your computer, smartphone, tablet, whatever, unless you absolutely have to. And then make sure you remember it's there, and then get rid of it. Don't store sensitive information anywhere that doesn't require a password, such as the Shared with Everyone folder in OneDrive. Search for sensitive or confidential information on your computer, your portable storage devices like thumb drives, and on all the cloud drives. Wherever you keep documents, if you don't know where it is or even that you have it, then it's easy to lose and it becomes a security risk, believe it or not. So clean your house. Have you ever worked with confidential data? Have you ever filled out a job application or a college application for a child using your work computer? Those applications may still contain the PII that you've forgotten about by now. And so all that's at risk at this point. Go back and look through all your information. Make sure you do not have any PII there. Delete the data if you no longer need it, if it's no longer useful. Otherwise, make sure the data are secure by using a strong password or encryption, that sort of thing. Let's talk about passwords. A weak password, one that's easily guessed, is an invitation to hackers of all sorts to come on in. A password that uses the word password or the name of a season, a month, or a sports team, that's like leaving your house key under the mat or under the potted plant. Everyone looks there first, so you have to work a little harder. Working off-site can also increase the chances you might lose data. Be careful about taking papers with confidential information home. I know I kind of chuckle about that. People do it all the time. It's easy and dangerous to leave those laying around or just throwing them away in the trash instead of having them shredded. We have shredders here in the department. We have processes in place where if you have PI, you can take them and dispose of them correctly. At home, you probably just have your trash can, and that's not really the best way to go about it. Increased traveling to and from the office also increases the chances that laptops, thumb drives, and folders can be lost or stolen, or even fall off the roof of your car as you drive away. I can't count how many coffees I've lost that way. Not any thumb drives yet, but it could happen. So if family members or friends ask to use your work computer, you might ought to politely refuse explaining that it's against KDE policy and you wouldn't want them to be responsible for any accidents. So you have to be firm there. Using unsecured public Wi-Fi, such as at restaurants or the airport or at the local coffee shop, can be risky. Make sure you also use a VPN, virtual private network. Okay, here's the nitty-gritty. If you feel pretty certain that you are sitting on top of a data breach, you need to tell someone, and fast. Use the phone because email is too slow. The sooner we let someone know, the sooner we can react to stop the breach and minimize the damage. Always remember that while a data breach may be really bad for us and inconvenient, it's absolutely horrible for whoever's data are lost. We owe that person, could be students, could be educators, could be administrators, could be folks here at KDE, doesn't matter, we owe them fast and responsible action. For KDE staff, your first call should be to the CAT service desk. They can get the ball rolling, and there is always someone there during business hours, 7:30 to 5 o'clock Eastern Time. They will contact the right person after they collect information from you and make sure it gets to who it needs to get to. Generally, their first call is going to be to KDE's Chief Information Officer, that's David Couch. They'll also call our Director of Division of Enterprise Data, and that's Dee Dee Connor, and they'll very likely also call me, the Security Program Manager. If you have to leave a message with them, go ahead and do it. Then if you can't get in touch with someone at the service desk or if you've left a message, go ahead and contact your direct supervisor or your office's contact in the Data Policy Committee. If you don't know who that is, you need to find out. Lastly, if you can't reach anyone else by phone, then email the details, not the actual sensitive information, just let someone know what was lost or what may have been lost to your supervisor and your associate commissioner and the CAT service desk. Then catch up with them on the next business day. Thanks for watching this presentation and the entire series. I know security isn't the most exciting topic in the world, but it's amazing how interesting and important security becomes when you suddenly realize you don't have any. So if you have any questions or want to know more, contact KDE's folks in the Division of Enterprise Data at this email address, or ask your Data Policy Committee member. I would be happy to come and discuss this with your office too. Just ask. And again, my name, I didn't tell you my name at the beginning, did I? My name is Robert Hackworth. Thanks a lot for watching, and stay safe, stay secure. Bye-bye.